Okay, good evening and welcome to Monos featuring me, Monica Mo Justice. All right, so we're gonna wait to what was the lucky number? To my 9 people get here. Oh, I forgot. It's gonna be 8. To my 8 people get in here because one is resting. I'm gonna stop, but I'm just gonna wait for the lucky number 8 to get up in here, and then I'll be able to begin my commentary. Okay, there we are. We're in the house. All right, so I got your email, yo, folks. I am not in the mindset to cover that topic tonight. That's a deep topic. So if we can hold off on that for a couple more days, I will definitely add it to my legal. Um, it's definitely going to go on the legal side of things around here, or cases that I follow, but I don't want to discuss it tonight. I did see it this morning with my daughter. We watched the body cam in person. I mean, in person, but we watched it together, and it was a chilling moment. Um, it's just a chilling moment being a woman of color, listening to her. So it's just not a conversation I'm open to at this moment. Um, I have been in the past couple of weeks, as you may know, if you've been watching my community wall or speaking to me behind the scenes. Psych. Actually, I've been behind the scenes free. But anyway, if you have had any kind of outreach with me, you would know that I was intensely catching up on the YSL RICO case um, for a lot of reasons. So I'm just going to walk you through my mindset. And tonight, I'm going to focus on how this case began from two perspectives. If you're new to my channel, you will recall that, well, for the old folks, the new folks, this is going to be some new stuff for you. I look at these type of cases from a 360-degree approach. I try to investigate them from the level of the aspect of how the prosecutor presents the case, how the defense defends their case, and last but not least, how the jurors decide the case. I try not to engage in these high profile cases um, on a media perspective. I try to really just look at the case from what is presented in the court and bring you those aspects of exactly what went on in court and discuss it from that framework. Good evening. For those of you who are moderators, it should be a real chill evening tonight. I got you. If anything should go wrong up in here, okay? I got you. So here we are. The YSL case. It's just a whole mess. It's a whole mess. I I was watching it on and off, but I got really in tune with it the day the judge um held an attorney in contempt. And I was sitting there just watching it free willy on that day, and I saw the I saw the who's that lady? The lady from the Fani case come up there to defend that attorney, come up there to defend Ashley. She came up there to defend the defense attorney, Brian Steele. And immediately I knew the woman, but I didn't remember where I knew her from. And then I remember seeing her testify on something else. And I was like, oh, that's her. So I got to see her from a different perspective. And it made me look at things differently because I've only saw her in action on the case that had to do with Fani. And I was, maybe on Fani's side in that situation at a limited level, because I felt like the reason why the relationship was uncovered is because it's a small town and people knew people's business outside of the courtroom, and they brought the information into the courtroom. But with that being said, I felt that something wrong was going on in that arena. And I decided to watch a little closer. And as the days turned into weeks, it really revealed itself to be injustice. And it's injustice on two aspects. One, there are victims at the back end of this case. When all the stuff is going back and forth, there are some victims that they weaponized against the defendants. I saw both parents of the deceased testify, and I thought it was just gross. I just thought it was gross to bring in the parents to testify and use them in that capacity with the evidence that they have brought forward thus far. So, then what materialized from that is watching YouTubers discuss the case and do a great job sharing out the information and engaging people and being very informative about the case in and of itself. So that's what brought me to discussing First Amendment. Now, if you are familiar with your First Amendment, you will know that the First Amendment is the one that speaks to your freedoms, your freedom of speech, which is definitely covered by this case because they were using the lyrics against the defendants to evidence that they participated in whatever the charges are against them, because they wrote lyrics, they sung a song, and it contained these graphic details that allude to this crime. Secondly, um, and recently, there's come what I see as, we have watched, the public has watched this case evolve and see that the court system is rigged against folks. And in that regard, it's sad. It really is, because we are now in the courtroom watching the court case. We've got non-experienced, non-traditional reporting, right? So we got YouTube vloggers inside there covering the case. We got traditional news, which according to YouTube, there are authenticated media is in there reporting on the case, and you're starting to see the jealousy evolve around freedom of the press. So recently, well, let's go back to the day Steele, which is the defense attorney, was held in contempt of court. There was assertions from the media, a gentleman who was in the court and a YouTuber who was in the court, both said that they have something called a rule. Let me see what the number is. They have permission to record inside the courtroom. So they have a special Rule 22, I think it is, that allows them to record in the courtroom. And they were told not to record. And I find that to be a very interesting starting point, because they were told not to record, which means that the court was aware and the prosecution was aware that the witness was going to plead the fifth. And everyone knows that that is like the cardinal sin, to have a witness take the stand and plead the fifth. So, very important characters there. The YouTuber herself and the news reporter that was that asked questions and challenged the Rule 22 and wanted to put things on the record. And he's the first person I watched on somebody's stream that night recalling the story. And it really perked my interest, because I did feel like there was a violation going on. Anyway, fast forward a couple of bringing us back into real time. Today, same vlogger who was given that instruction is now coming under fire, because she has now developed some kind of connection with their key witness, the witness that was the center of the controversy in the first place. The ex parte meeting, or the in-camera discussion in the judge's chambers. So, a couple of nights ago, I was watching another YouTuber gentleman who I watch quite often, because he teams up with a local New York attorney, and she normally does some content with him. And he was going live discussing the relationship, because the YouTuber put out a picture of her with the star witness. And he felt that she had violated the principles, the core principles of being a reporter, being that, being the press. And he gave his opinions on it. And I thought that they were, you know, fair opinions coming from his perspective of being a professional reporter. But what authoritative news needs to be open to or be aware of is that people don't trust media, but they do trust vloggers and people that they meet, the average everyday person. They trust them more. They develop more interpersonal relationships with them. And to that end, they want to hear information coming from them because they are the layperson. They haven't been bought or manipulated. Ah, now, that was my position until last night when I uploaded another video on my community wall of another woman, YouTube vlogger, giving her account and providing what I dubbed as background on people, um, on the people in question here. And I realized that there are some more things at play. And this is unfair to the everyday or the average vlogger, the average YouTuber. I think the woman has been, in this instance, I think she has been singled out because they are trying to discredit her because she was sitting in the courtroom at a pivotal time. And I think that the success of vloggers is in direct competition to established media, and they're not ready for the change. They're just not ready for the change. Now, in my world where I come from, I know that I was not familiar with the YouTube and the power of the YouTube and what it really meant. This little corner of the world on YouTube when I first was introduced to it. So there's no telling what the reach is, but I guess time will tell. Time will be the decider of that. I listened to a few of the interviews with the star witness, um, and I was really hurt because I don't think people realize how manipulative the police are. And when I look at the age of the people in question, I would have to say that there was a systemic. Well, we know that there was at third grade that this cohort, this group of young men in their age group were already evaluated to see where they would be as adults. And the reports that came out back then was that they would be more likely incarcerated. They did a study, they came out with the results. By the time they reached third grade, they could predict where they would be. And I'm not sure how much of that was a prediction as it was a plan. And when you listen to some of those videos that are, what are they calling them? The police confession when they was interrogating him in the room. When you listen to some of how that interrogation went on and you listen to the officers' testimonies that they presented thus far, you will see that they engaged in a massive manipulation campaign amongst all those men, all those young men at the time that incited some of the issues. I asked the question because they said that I think she's a deputy um, district attorney, Love, was formerly a judge, but for juvenile court, family court judge, and she handled juvenile cases. I believe that because these particular um, defendants or participants in this trial right here had exposure at an early age. There are dossiers, just like people have dossiers of people here on the internet and come after them. I feel like the same thing has occurred here. These are lifetime documents of those young people's lives that they just want to use against them. I listened to the testimony that he's provided so far, in addition to the testimony of the police officers, and it's just ridiculous. It's ridiculous that no one's brought them up on charges for destroying our communities. When we have when we as citizens fund a police department to protect our communities, we want them to come in respectful of our communities and not destroy our communities. A long time ago, folks once expressed to me that we could self-police our own communities and we would be better served for it. And more, as time has progressed, they may be correct. Yo folks wanted me to cover um, he wanted me to cover an event that is in the news right now, and I told him I can't. I'm just not in an emotional state for it because, again, it represents the same thing. Us funding an organization, a gang, which I will call the police officers. And remember, as they keep trying to tell us, is that gangs don't have to be, every gang is not a negative thing. So we fund a gang called the police department, and they come in and destroy our neighborhood. Some of the information, as I listened to the interrogation, was planting a seed in folks' head that something was going on. When you bring young adults in, when they're when they're impressionable and they have their rage and they're just learning how to deal with conflict, and you present to them during an interrogation process as one of your ways to entrap them into a confession by feeding them false information about their enemies or people that they're having a conflict with, you actually are igniting some of the drama and trauma that ends up hitting the streets. And as I listen to some of the testimony, and some of the interrogation um videos, that's the first feeling I had of manipulation. Imagine a person um being executed and the police bring in the next day some people that are um what do y'all call them, ops of the person that was executed. When the people see that going on, they believe that that's the person that caused the issue. So what ends up happening is that, I'm sorry, I got distracted. So that's the person that caused the issue. Sometimes I'll be thinking about the proper words to use on these, in this environment. Anyway, I gotta make one adjustment. Okay, so I thought about that long and hard when I listened to the testimony. State of affairs. The next time I go live, I will discuss the motions that have been filed. I'm making a big chart about them. I will say this in a preliminary approach. I'm not impressed with any of these attorneys, period. I'm not impressed with the prosecutors. I think that they should be, that ex parte meeting was just too much for me. But I'm not impressed with their tactics. Before the ex parte transcript came out, I was all Team Hilton. That's a negative. That's a negative. Um, I am not in favor of Bumpus. Um, uh, I just that was one of the reasons why I just had to be quiet for a little while because I was just watching that develop. Um, there's a lot of manipulating going on. I'm admitting it because I did the test. You know how that goes. So I've read most of them. I had to download them because I was watching channels and people was reading. Oh boy, reading is fundamental. It was horrible out here. I was like, they need to keep the AI moving because what these people is doing is crazy. I want to say a few things. So the attorney, Kayla Bumpus, she contends that her page has been um, commandeered by some kind of hackers and all her videos was taken down round one. Then there was a round two. They new to this. They don't understand, you know, being a lawyer, I think one would understand this, that YouTube might have taken down the content at the request of the prosecutors. We've been here long and hard enough and understand how this platform works. So I was just surprised that ain't ring no bells yet. Let me see, what's the other thing? the motions that were filed, the ones by Steele where he belittled the the prosecutors and reduced them to being lawyers. I was like, I understand that he was angry, but I felt it was a disservice to the client to throw that type of temper tantrum in writing. And I've listened to a lot of people commend what beautiful motions these are, etc., etc. I I'm not. I read them and I was just like, wow, to really take the DA and just call them lawyer so and so. It was even difficult listening to people read it because you know that it was crazy hearing it. But then it's also crazy to hear people read stuff and they substitute the nickname in the spot for the other person, you know, for the person they're writing about. Other things struck me a little bit odd with the motions also. In legal writing, I'm used to people saying like defendant so and so. These papers are clearly written as like Mr. So and so, you know, really giving respect to their client. But I just was a little surprised by that. Just a little surprised by that. I think some of the writings are done with the intention. No, I don't think, no. I don't really, what I read so far, I didn't find it to be like it was written to go to the appellate level. Then there are portions of the case of the judge that was recused um had all of these motions that were verbal motions that he denied, right? And these people only are dependent upon the court reporter's record or maybe the YouTube video or the transcript that comes from um, the video coverage to be the evidence of what occurred. To me, a lot of laziness was going on. So when you see this motion um, exercise going on that everyone had to submit things by Tuesday, and then all responses will be due by Friday, you learn that now they're really putting in the work that they're getting paid to do. All those oral arguments and stuff like that, the days of Johnny Cochran are long gone. I'm not going to say that these are not excellent attorneys. I'm just going to say that what I saw so far, for me, I've been a little mad about my money. I believe that Young Thug's attorney is passionate about him. You know what? Honestly, all the attorneys are arguing very hard and they look like they really care about their client. The last time I remember watching the trial here on and coming back and having a discussion about it, it was the man who was found guilty of in Florida of murdering his baby mama, his son, and her twins. And I didn't believe he did it. I really didn't believe he did it. I believe something else more heinous went on there. I don't know. There hasn't been enough evidence right now that I saw, and I went back. Oof. I went back maybe it's been like 2 weeks of just watching day in, day out, day in, day out, um, testimony and 9 days worth of it. Nothing lead me to believe the more serious charges. But anyway, I'll come back. I'll look at it. I'll look at the motions when the answers are filed so that I'll have a complete conversation and then I can go back and forth. What do I think right now? I think this judge, this is my first thoughts on the new judge. I feel like she is stringing the prosecutors along. I believe she's going to give them a mistrial. I think the arguments that are going to be, or the focus in the coming days that's going to be important from the defense is proving that this is prosecutorial misconduct and that this case should be um a mistrial with prejudice. And I think that's the reason why you had several different filings come in from several different perspectives of why it should be a mistrial with prejudice. They didn't all argue the same um, points in their in their motion, but they're all tied by some rule that they follow. But each person's motion, unless there's a specific request to sever from that submission. So that's what I think is going to happen in the coming days. I think that she's going to listen to these motions and they're going to have to make compelling cases as to why it should be dismissed with prejudice. I think eventually it's going to be a dismissal. I think she just gave a good game, like, hey, we're going to go forward with this because she didn't want to have any kind of um, show any kind of favoritism to the defense. Um, and that's about it. I just think that she just didn't want to give them. She didn't want to give the prosecutors any reason to believe that she was not going to go forward with their case. Interesting. One of the motions um, basically says we believe that the prosecutors intentionally put made this goat is the word, the GOAD word, goat them into this position because they want to do over. Um, I would not want to do over of this mess. I would not want to do over of this of what I've seen thus far. I would not want to do that. I mean, sometimes you make a mistake in life. You would like to have a second chance, but this is not something that I would want a second chance on. I'm about to wrap up. Questions, comments, concerns from the chat. Well, not seeing any, I'm going to take my little self to bed and go to bed. All right, it's always good hanging out with y'all. My same 9 people. Today's broadcast was brought to you by the M and the O. Mo, mo, mo.